like to open the Open Space Committee meeting and planning on organizing the CPA election committee tonight. It's 7:05 on 4/25/24. Okay, I'd like to welcome you to our Open Space Committee meeting to learn about the Community Preservation Act and consider joining a group to try to get it voted at the next November election. I'm passing around a sign-in sheet, and hopefully people at videoing can watch it again and learn about this. Okay. Our guest is Ann Mazur, however you want to. And she's on the is the chair of the Community Preservation Committee in Mendon, and they did a great job. They've been enjoying their profits for years. So it's the history of it is it was enacted in 2000 for a smart growth tool that helps communities in Massachusetts preserve open space, historic sites, and create affordable housing and develop recreational facilities. First, we need to vote it in by majority at a town meeting, and then again at the town election. And it's to levy a property tax surcharge up to 3% on real property for the purpose of creating a local community preservation fund and qualifying for state matching funds. For my house, a 1% surcharge would be $60 additional per year. Possible exemptions from payment are people which we can tweak it to our specifications. People who qualify for low-income housing or moderate-income senior housing, the first $100,000 of taxable value of your residential property, and commercial or industrial property in town with classified tax rates. Matching funds from the state are generated through surcharges at the Registry of Deeds. So this meeting is intended to create a committee to get the CPA adopted, but I reached out to the people who are on committees that need to be on the final committee if it is adopted. So I thought, why not start with the core group? But, later, when and if it is adopted, it needs to have between 5 and 9 members, including the committees of historic, housing, planning, conservation, and parks, which we don't have, but we can substitute. And then we develop a plan after looking at the needs, possibilities, and resources, review and recommend projects, keep records, and report on the budget. I'd like to introduce Ann Mazur, who was kind enough to join us tonight and talk about the CPA and how best to adopt it. Mendon has been successful. So that's my presentation. Now it's your turn.
So why don't we just have this very casual, and if you want to ask questions, just like wave or something like that. I might repeat a little bit of what you said, but let's see. Well, I was reading back on how you pass it, and you have to have the majority vote at a town meeting, or you can do a petition. And you need 5% of your population, which I think is around 500 for Douglas. So if, the timing didn't work out, that would be another way for you to, move forward. And then it has to be at the ballot with the 2/3 vote. And when you have CPA, 10% of the money every year has to be set aside for open space, historical preservation, and affordable housing. And then you can use the rest of the money however you want, pretty much. But those 3 categories, you always have to keep adding 10% every year. We adopted it, or Mendon adopted it in 2004, and we adopted it at the 3% level, which I wasn't going to do. Like, you mentioned the 1%, but the select board, I think there was a select board member that really didn't want it to pass, and so he said, go for the 3%. And so I was like, okay. So we went with the 3%, and then it passed. And I have to say that, but we also did the low-income exemption and the first 100%, the first 100,000 of the taxable real estate. So, people that didn't make as much money or, just didn't have that much money, it didn't hit them as hard. That gave them a break. So at the 3% level, if you had a house that was like $400,000, that would be like $123 a year. And then, obviously, as your real estate was more, it would be more money. And the reason that 3% is so much better than the 1 or 2%, I mean, you do collect more surcharge, but the money from the state, there's 3 rounds. And so if you're not at the 3% level, you only get the first round, and that's it. At the 3% level, you get the second round and the third round. And I looked up, and each town has a decile rating. And so depending on how small your town is, or I guess the income level, you get more or less money. And so Mendon, for example, there's like a base figure of money they give out. And a town like Hingham, they would get 50% of that, whereas Mendon gets 110%, and Douglas would get 120%, and it really adds up. So I really recommend you go for the 3%. And the only time I would say not to do that is if you have like a really strong commercial base and you can get money, but anyways. So in Mendon, since we started, through the surcharge, we've collected around $5.4 million. And the state has contributed $3.7 million. But because of CPA, you can apply for so many more grants, because most of the state grants are matching grants. And so you have to put money up, and most towns don't have extra money. And so from partnerships with other organizations like Metacomet Land Trust, technical assistant, grant funds, we've got another $2.3 million. So if you compare the amount of money that we've gotten from Mendon residents, the $5.4 million, in terms of incoming funds, we've gotten $5.96 million. So basically, the investment is 100% return on your investment. I mean, if you had a personal investment and you got 20%, that would be like amazing. This is 100%. So it's really, for people that say it's going to cost the town, it really makes the town money. I mean, obviously, you have to apply for grants, to make it happen, but you have that opportunity because you have the money to do it. So let's see. And also what's interesting is when you do the matching grant, like, every year, let's say, Mendon puts in $100. I mean, obviously, it's more than that. And then the state puts in money. So half of the money is like the state, or a portion of it. But when you have to do a state matching grant, you can still use that state money you got. So it's almost like double dipping. It's not all town money you're even putting in. You're putting in some town money and state money towards the match. Is there any questions? Especially if I'm not clear on what I'm saying, just, ask me. So like in Mendon, some of the things we've done, we preserved a lot of land. We paid, with the historical preservation, if you have town buildings that are old and historic, you can use CPA funds to repair them or adaptive reuse. Mendon paid for a third of their police station because of the adaptive reuse. We use CPA funds. We renovated our town hall, the records room, library, new roofs, painted, fixed drainage, and made them ADA accessible. We built new playground, major renovations to tennis courts, basketball courts. We've added lighting to fields and courts. We've removed non-native invasive plants like water chestnut from ponds. We built sports fields, just grass sports fields. You can do turf, but the only thing you can use CPA for would be the excavation. You can't, do. We've hired a part-time affordable housing coordinator. We've done trail work. We've done many engineering studies, which have been super helpful, like surveying and appraisals, like when you're trying to figure out if how much something's going to cost, or where the land is and all that. And you can use administrative funds for that, CPA administrative funds. We've restored and archived historical documents and other items. We have a town beach that did a total fix above it, like the drainage, and it was falling apart. Put together a housing production plan. We paid for that with CPA funds, and CMRPC is helping us do that. And then every year we pay a Community Preservation Coalition dues, which is optional. But the Community Preservation Coalition which if you just Google that, they have a whole website, and it has a ton of information on how to apply and information on, that would sort of just explain different aspects of it and why it would be very helpful. But, you know, when we first had to do it, like, I think Mendon pays $1,500 for the dues, and people would say, is it worth it? And last year, because of the Community Preservation Commission, Coalition's lobbying with the state, we got an extra $70,000. So it's totally worth $1,500 to get $70,000, you know what I mean? I mean, that paid for, like, you know, many years of the dues. So I highly recommend that if you did get it, that you would pay that dues. So I have some arguments that I thought of, and so I'll mention them, and, you know, please ask questions, okay, happening. So some people, you know, and especially people that have lived in town for a long time, will say, I want the town just to stay as it is. But the problem is that it's not going to stay as it is unless you do something. It's going to get developed, and I don't know about Douglas, but, you know, when they put in a subdivision, they just clear cut everything, you know, and it's, you know, historic farms will end up being pasture estates or whatever. Historic buildings, you know, you can't keep them up. So if you want to restore historic farms and buildings and, you know, keep the same flavor of Douglas, you need money to do that. Some people say, you know, I don't want any new taxes. This doesn't raise the tax rate, it's a surcharge. And then, you know, as we mentioned before, people that have less income, they can get an exemption. So, you know, they're protected. And then the first $100,000 of the real estate is also not considered in the calculation. And CPA can save the town money. For example, like the police station that I mentioned, that would have had to been paid for by probably a debt, you know, just from the regular budget. Our town hall renovations that we've done. And plus you can do the matching grants. And a lot of them are big, like Lisa and I are working on a $500,000, you know, matching grant. So it's you know, good money. And CPA can be used to make historic buildings ADA compliant, which is helpful. And then, you know, some people, you know, it's not really an argument against CPA, but I guess it's an argument for it. You know, many people who are older want to downsize and they can't find, you know, housing. And so obviously the affordable housing money can help in that area. And young people who want to remain in town can, and, you know, people that work for the town can't afford to live in town. And so the affordable housing is a really nice bucket to have. And also the state also has tons of money. They really want to push, you know, affordable housing. So, you know, the quality of life, you know, improves the quality of life in town. Because these items, historic preservation, open space, affordable housing, and recreation, they selected those because towns just put them on the back burner all the time. It's like, oh, we don't have money for that, we can't do that. But they really improve the quality of life in town. And they also increase home values because open space, recreational facilities, they're good for your health. It directs youth into productive activities. We have in our town meeting next Friday, we have a senior community center, which is going to be a big vote. But the way the CPA is contributing is that the recreation side of it, if it all happens and gets passed, we'll be able to use CPA money to build 2 pickleball courts, and I know that's a big thing in Douglas.
You're going to say that.
Yeah. A bocce, shuffleboard, and a basketball court. So, you know, use for those types of things. Oh, and then, you know, I know that in Douglas you do have the state forest. It's a state forest, or yeah. So people say you don't need any more open space, but you know, I mean, you're so lucky you have that. But you also want open space around where you live, you know, and there's also the issue of the cost of services, and there's many studies, which I can send a link, that have been done, and residential housing never makes money for a town. That's when, you know, you have to end up getting an override for schools or whatever, whereas open space actually saves the town money because it doesn't cost anything. You know, you don't have to build roads and whatnot. So actually, it really saves the town money. And let's see. Oh, I know, one more thing is like, people say, they don't want their tax dollars going to CPA, they don't believe in it or whatever. But the funding's coming from the registry fees, and sometimes the Massachusetts budget surplus is where the CPA funds come from. And the money's there. I mean, and Mendon's getting it and Douglas isn't, And so, I mean, you might as well take advantage of it because, really, we're all paying for it in one way or the other. And that's about it. I was just going to say, especially when you get to the vote, make sure you get the factual information out and have some kind of a, put in your personal money, because you can't use town money for it. It has to be like, outside of town, but it wouldn't be that much. But even just to send a flyer out, just with the information on it, so people really understand it, and even a number they can call if they have questions or something like that. Yeah, so that's what I have. So I don't know what questions or, I don't know.
You mentioned a position that was created. Can you describe that? What
Yeah,
resulted?
well, what happens in a lot of towns, and especially in the past, is how you should put that 10% away. Well, historical preservation got used, and open space got used, but affordable housing didn't. And so they wanted people to use it, and we wanted to use it, but you need someone in town that would take it on, as a volunteer. No one was taking it on. And so the CPC added that you could hire an affordable housing coordinator to do that. And so that's the position that we hired. Yeah.
And how many hours?
It's only 4 hours. You could do more, though. But we now have a town planner, and so, that person does some of the work, and so we all kind of work together, and then with CMRPC.
I was reading in, it was a 2008 newspaper about how Grafton hired a local woman with experience in nonprofit and government to streamline and coordinate the projects and the work of the CPC.
Well, I mean, I suppose you do, you can set aside 5% of the money you get for administrative funds. And, so Mendon ends up, this year, between the surcharge and the state money, we have $650,000 that we're putting 10%, and 5% in administration. So you have $30,000 for administration, but we don't want to we just volunteers do the administrative work, so.
Yeah, you don't need anybody.
But you could do that, though. Yeah.
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 Can you then use that money for another category, or?
No, but they have usually we'll do 10%, 10%, 10% in those three categories. Recreation, you don't have to do anything with. Then 5% administration, and then 65% in what's called the budgeted reserve, and you can do anything with that.
Oh, okay.
And then also, you end up having this fund balance that builds up, and you can use that. But the administration money is, what's really good about the administrative money is that, and also this is a good point, every project that CPA does, you have to get it voted at town meeting. So it's not like there's some little committee that just does what they want. Everything has to go to town meeting, which is great, But the administrative money, the committee can vote on that and spend it. And that money generally has to be used because you're considering a project, but you need more information. So it could be surveying, engineering, an appraisal, that type of thing. Because lots of times, if, land's being sold, you don't have time because they're selling it now and you can't wait till a town meeting. So it's really helpful. Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that in the past year, 18 months, the Open Space Committee has put together an open space and recreation plan so that we can also score higher if we should apply for grants. And in that process, we've had some great maps developed, and Douglas is, I believe, 36 square miles, which is a pretty big town. And
That is big.
If you look at it, the recreation is the facilities are very dispersed. And like downtown, you have a little bit more, but in other quadrants, we divided the town into quarters, and we're looking at these other quarters, and it's there's nothing for recreation in some of those places. So I think you mentioned it earlier on, but I think it's really important as the town is growing to look at how we can be more equitable in some of those facilities and making sure young families can go to a playground or open space close by and enjoy it versus having to get in the car and drive all the way across town or go somewhere else. So I think this could be really valuable in accomplishing that goal.
Yeah, you can just do so much more when you have the money, you know, like that. And the thing is some people hem and haw about it, but once they have it, you know,
Yeah.
they tend to
They don't go
appreciate it because
backwards.
you can do so much, you know.
So can you vote this in and vote it out as well?
But you have to vote it out the same way you voted in, so it'd be a majority at a town meeting and then at the ballot. But, and there's been several times when there's been select board members over the last 20 years who wanted to get rid of it. But usually I've convinced them that it's not, because I don't even want it to get to town meeting, you know? But so far, we haven't, yeah. But there's certain people that just don't want it, but they don't want to do anything. They don't want to spend money on anything, so, you know.
My first thought was, why would they want to get rid of it? Because it helps with a lot of stuff.
It really does.
Here, we've got to put in a new highway garage because it's really in bad shape and not really healthy for the employees. And there's no room for all the bigger trucks. This garage is, I forget how old. And then you've got the library, who is not ADA accessible, and they're constantly, over the years, they want to make some changes, and it needs it. But again, they're fundraising, like the Historical Society that I'm on, we fundraise, but the Historical Society is not paid for by the town, not anything. It's a private historical society with the E.N. Jenks Store Museum. So this would help with a lot of things, especially the garage and the highway, the fire department needs some additions, I believe, Max.
Are they old buildings, though?
The
Like
fire
library?
department is not as old.
Yeah, because usually like what we do in Mendon is we let the historical commission decide if it's historic.
Oh,
You know
it
what I mean?
is. Yeah, it's on the
And then-
National Historic
Oh, okay,
Register.
yeah. Yeah. And also, we have, in Mendon, they have the commission and also the society.
Yes.
Same thing, and we've done projects, you can do projects with, like, the society. It doesn't have to be a town.
Right.
I mean, anybody could come up with a project, you know, and bring it to the committee, as long as it fits those categories.
So how does that work? So,
Let me think, I'm trying to think if we've done that.
so in Douglas,
Yeah, give me an example.
Historical Society is in a private, privately owned business.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
nonprofit.
You're right.
These type of funds could be used towards that?
Well, I think they could be used if, like, that everyone would benefit from it. So like, especially like a facade of a building or something like that, you know, where everybody would see it. You could fund it, or you could put a historical preservation restriction on something. You could
Access.
pay money. Access could, yes, I think access, if it's a
Okay,
historical
right.
building, and I don't think it has to be a town building.
Okay.
But that's what's really good about the Community Preservation Coalition website, because then you can get the information, and they list all the different projects that have been done, and you can also call them and ask, but,
But as a museum, it's open to the public, so it
Right.
does have a public purpose.
yeah, so that probably, right.
Right.
And the programs that you have?
Yes.
And like documents and, right,
Historic, we try to focus every program, and it doesn't always happen, but everything with some history. History of the town, or to emphasize history.
Well, and there are archives in the library, too, that,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
to digitize those and to make them more accessible.
Right.
is Super.
yeah, actually, the Historical Society in Mendon bought a digital, like, copier, so you could copy historical, you know, archives without damaging them, so that kind of,
neat.
that would be an example.
Yeah. Good information.
What about the old school that's
You
been
didn't
sitting
have to
vacant?
convince us.
Yeah, that's, we have the
Yeah.
old
That's
elementary
historic.
school that
Over 100.
is like on the verge of either, can we get a buyer? It's sitting there for years.
Since the 70s,
And is it
right?
used at all, or no? I mean, so like,
No.
maybe that could be
It's
like
in-
affordable housing or something, no?
Well, that was tried
Yeah.
some years back, and
It's so
there was,
close to the schools
Yeah.
that there's the stalker type issue, you know, or sex offenders and.
But I mean, affordable housing though is really just buying homes for people that, you know, don't have a lot of money. So, I mean, it's people that work for the town, it's your police, your firefighters, it's your teachers, it's, you know what I mean? And I mean, if you look at the level, like when you do the median income for affordable housing in this area, it's like almost not affordable because
That's
the
right.
income is so high. So even if it's near a school, that really wouldn't be an issue, you know, because
Yeah.
it's just like people you know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
But how do you regulate that?
But it could be, you know,
Well, the price of I mean, when,
They apply and you,
yeah, but they have to pay for it though. So it's, you know, however, I mean, it would be affordable for Douglas, but it's not going to be like tenement housing, you know what I'm saying? Like people think like, oh, it's going to be horrible. It's just like a home for someone to live in that's affordable.
Yeah.
You know, so you really have control over that. Yeah, I don't know.
your information shows that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that Douglas could benefit by.
Yeah, well, the affordable housing thing, you know, that's one thing in Mendon, oh man, like, I don't know, like 15 years ago, we tried to do something with affordable housing, and there was that argument that people had, you know, like, oh, these, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to bring crime in and this and that. And so like, literally for 15 years, we've been working on explaining, you know, what affordable housing is, you know? And I think people get it now because they see like, people are getting priced out of the town, their kids can't live there, that type of thing.
it's home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or if
yeah,
they want to downsize,
right,
sell their home, but then there's nowhere to go.
Exactly.
To stay in the community. So
yeah.
I think that's really critical to having a healthy community.
Yeah, and it makes your community more vibrant because you have, you know, everybody in the same income level, or, you know, it's just
Right.
a variety.
Yeah.
Well, now, you know, Max, maybe you can explain some of this too, because we've got this business project they've been building, and there's been some issues, and water is a problem in Douglas. It's running all over the place. But
Flooding water?
Yeah.
Flooding, yeah,
stormwater.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
any comments
So
on the?
storm resiliency, you know, all that stuff is in the open space and recreation plan.
Right,
Right.
and open space helps with, you know, flooding in terms of absorbing the water and
Right.
whatnot,
Yeah.
yeah. But, are you an MVP town, municipal vulnerability preparedness?
I think, yeah, I think so.
We have gone through that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because there's money there, you
Yeah.
know, for like culvert replacement and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been dealing with some projects that haven't adequately regulated their stormwater management systems,
Uh-huh.
and it's been affecting community members. I mean, there's multiple projects like that in
Yeah.
town now. There's a solar farm going up on Oak Street, which recently, back in December, it had one of the huge rainstorms, and it was washing sediment away, and it turned the Manchog Lake into chocolate milk, basically, from all the sediment it washed into it. So is there things within the CPA that helps manage stormwater like that in high volumes?
I mean, I would say land preservation, that part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But not the infrastructure, that would be more like MVP money, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know, there's a whole area, Wallem Lake Terrace, it's like a whole complex in itself, and it's always been an issue. Even when I was on the Board of Selectmen, the water would just run down into the Wallem Lake.
Washed out the
Yeah,
lane.
and at that time, their sewerage setup wasn't that great either, so And Lisa and I drove out there the other day, and wow.
Well, and the overdevelopment, clear cutting and all that.
It's a
doesn't
cottage
help.
community, yeah.
But now they're building
No, second, yeah.
big homes.
Right.
Big homes.
You knock them down, and put a bit, something big on a postage stamp,
Yeah.
which I don't even see how a septic system would fit
I know.
into those.
But they,
The lake's
all
clean,
kinds of
though.
problems.
Yeah, I saw one of the plans for the home that burned down there. It's basically the entire lot. They're building a house on it.
And so you mostly have well water in Douglas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So open space, again, you know, is really important to preserve your aquifers and where your water's coming from. There's a property in Mendon we're hoping to preserve next Friday, so, and that's one of our arguments. And Lisa's been really helpful with this.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to ask you, do you have a favorite project that you've seen come through that the CPC has shepherded to completion? I know it's like your children, you don't want to say who's favorite, but
I like this one more than that one, yeah.
you have a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have a favorite, but one that was pretty creative was, there was a farm that was going to be a really nice farm with like really tall stone walls.
Oh.
And it was about 70 acres, the Pearson Farm is what I'm thinking of. And they were going to build like these 6 lots, you know, with huge houses, you know, just not very interesting and not very farm or, you know, historical. And the person, it was under 61A, and the person, you know, was selling it. And so that was the offer, was this developer who was going to cut it all up. And so we wanted to keep it a farm. We didn't necessarily want to keep it totally as open space. And so we worked with Fish and Wildlife, and they bought the back part of the property, and then they ended up, you know, preserving that. And then the CPA money, what we did was we put a conservation restriction, we paid for that on the farmland, and then that brought the price way down, so then a farmer could buy it. And so now there's a farmer on that property, and it's preserved, so that was a good one. And we really couldn't have done that without the CPA, you know, because when you're, you know, dealing with the Chapter 61A, B, or whatever, you don't have a lot of time, and so then you'd have to do fundraising, you know, on top of it, but, you know, we had the money, and we just had to vote it at town meeting, and then the, you know, voters appreciated it because we got Fish and Wildlife involved, we got someone to buy the property, and so that it reduced our cost.
So you're saying someone to buy the property, was the town didn't buy the property?
No, we just bought the development rights, so it could never be developed. And then with Metacomet Land Trust, actually, we monitor the property to make sure that they're following, you know, the conservation restriction. And so a farmer owns it, you know, an individual.
But they have to
Because
farm it and
out
make
there.
money, be able to continue in the program.
Right, I mean, yeah, to do the 61A. But,
Yeah, you didn't need the land yourself, you'd rather have the taxes or whatever, probably.
yeah, I mean, we, you know, wanted to, it was a nice way to preserve a farm, you know? And then the Vandersloot one, that's great. That was another conservation restriction where the town will have public access. It's a beautiful property
Near a school?
near a school, so that, yeah, there can be educational programs, and Metacomet's raising money so that we can have a nice trail system. And we're going to actually have a warrant article that will help with that at the next town meeting. But they're still, you know, on the farm and, you know, have their animals and can keep it. But it'll be preserved forever, so. And, you know, like we fixed the drainage in Town Hall because all the historical documents were kept in the basement, and it was like, things were getting mildewy, and like, we had all these like really old documents, like we have an original Declaration of Independence, you know?
Wow.
And so we were able to fix the drainage and fix that whole room, and then also send the documents away to have them preserved, so that, you know, that you can do those kinds of things. Affordable housing, we're working on that one. We have a couple sites where we're trying to work with the affordable housing, but it's tricky because you have to put money into it because developers don't make money on affordable housing, so you have to supplement it, and help them out. But, and then recreation, we've done lots of, fields and playgrounds and things like that, and that's nice. Kind of makes everybody happy,
Right, that's it. It's
Yeah,
hitting
some
a
big
few
changes
big-
going on. I go through Mendon 3 times a week, and it's busy.
I know, Route
A lot of
16.
activities, a
Yeah.
lot of work being done.
Yeah, like, what are you referring to? Like, I'm just
Well, just the
curious.
center of town, seeing the, just this week, I went through working on the town hall. And
Oh, yeah. That was MVP money we got to do the design on that.
So the old Taft Library building, is that being converted, or has it been converted into
It'll-
town offices?
It'll be something. They don't, right now, they're in the basement, there's town offices, but the upstairs isn't ADA accessible, so they can't really
Oh.
use it, so it's just like storage. But like, that building was painted, the roof was fixed,
Yeah, it looks good.
yeah, it really, and then the town hall was painted, and, there's so much you can do, and those are town buildings that you'd have to pay for, with other money to do it, so.
But in other towns, aside from Mendon, Upton has a pretty vigorous CPC committee.
Yeah.
Doing a lot. Northbridge recently passed it and would use some of it to buy the Castle Hill property, which is a beautiful property. And in all those instances, what's fascinating is that because you have a seat at the table with your CPC money, it's so much easier to bring different parties together
Yeah,
and to build coalitions so that where you're not going for this acquisition alone, and you can say, we're bringing all these threads together, and yes, we can meet a price that is fair to both the owner and the future, either in fee, CR, conservation restriction, or outright purchase. And it's protecting habitat and so many other things, but you're not just out there by yourself going, oh, can we afford to do this?
Right.
that's a really good point. Yeah,
And the state really loves that. I mean,
when you work with other groups and
partnerships are
regionally,
huge,
and,
because they see the leverage, they see what you can accomplish with partners and bringing different people together and different organizations, so it's really good.
Well, I'm sorry that the other committees didn't show up. There were,
Yeah, but it really, in Mendon, when we passed CPA, it was like a handful of us that did it. You don't, it's
right,
really
you
just,
spread it out too much.
you just need people to vote. That's all you need. You know what I mean? Like, you can do the work and then just get people out to vote.
And there's a lot of, like, I've read on the website, there's a lot of, like, things that people have used in the past, like you have signs or whatever, and other people are willing to share their materials that they voted their CPA in with.
Well, I think what she mentioned about getting the important and valuable information out, don't wait too long.
Yeah.
But because there's a lot of misunderstanding, like historic district, that it just, the rumor mill or whatever about this is going to cause this, and it's really, you need to present the actual facts. And however that process was, obviously worked in Mendon, because there's a lot of people who would be naysayers about even another dollar on their taxes,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
obviously for good reason, but to understand the long-term benefits about knowing your community, people will now be able to go through the town of Mendon Center, and it'll still be there in 100 years. So their grandchildren will know that that was Mendon Center, and it's not been bulldozed over, right?
High rises.
Yeah. You're mentioning like materials for, having the CPA pass, and if you go to the Community Preservation Coalition website, they have like a whole page on materials, points to make and facts, and, so
Yeah. I'll hit
go
that.
there and you'll have, yeah. They've been an organization for like 20 years, so they've really,
And we're talking November, it's already, summer will be here
Almost
shortly.
May.
School will be let out,
I
and
think we should get through the election period
Yeah.
first.
well, that's coming
But
Yeah.
we're also, I think, at a watershed moment here in town, because we've got these massive box operations in the 146 corridor that traffic-wise is going to substantially change the feel and makeup of the town. And I think a lot of folks realize that if we don't do something soon, to your point, it's all slipping away. And this is a tool that can help. So
Are the box stores in Douglas?
they're not stores.
They're not-
Or the warehouses, are they in Douglas still?
Yes.
So at least they would have to contribute also to the CPA, which would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
But they also, if they ever get ramped up
Approved,
and
yeah.
occupied, or whatever it is to get running, it is going to result in people needing housing, and if,
Right. Where's the workforce
where's the
from?
workforce coming from?
So the Amazon warehouse that's on 146, is that in
Uxbridge.
Douglas? Oh, that's in Uxbridge, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
This is called the Cubes,
Huh.
Well, that's just one.
One of them.
one of them.
And that's
So
Boston
Valley
Road and
Logistics.
Sutton
Right.
or more. I mean, it's just a whole.
And there's one
Yeah.
already built, and
There's a whole
that's
series of them all.
that's
yeah.
a joint Northbridge, Uxbridge, Douglas.
Maybe even Sutton, no,
I'm not, Sutton, no.
it's on
But
the
I
other
think
side
it's-
of 146.
I think we need to look at that as an opportunity to say, if you want to keep some of this rural and some of this
Right.
open space and some of the historic buildings, we have to contribute a little,
Yeah.
and then as the businesses come on, they can contribute too. But if we don't do it soon, there won't be anything left.
Right.
No, people just come, developers would take advantage of the situation, because if the need is there for more housing or
Yep.
gas stations or whatever it might be,
Yep.
it's going to happen, It needs to be
Exactly.
And the
properly
house,
planned.
and the housing is going to get built, even if
Yeah.
you are preserving key,
Yes.
parcels of land which you've identified in your open space and recreation plan. I mean, it's going to happen, but you can at least control it a little bit, and the, really important parcels you can protect.
Yeah, it seems like this is also important. Our town's right on the cusp of hitting 10,000 people.
So how many do you have in town?
We have just under 9,000, I believe, or maybe just over 9,000. So once we hit 10,000, that's kind of the benchmark for all the large corporations want to move in now. Because you hit that threshold that CVS's move in, Walgreens, stuff like
exactly.
that, starts
Yep.
looking to move
Yep.
in. It seems like this is a good way to at least control that.
Strip malls,
All that stuff starts moving in at 10,000 people.
FedEx.
Yeah.
Well,
office.
and, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't be a small town once you go over that, so then you wouldn't get as much benefit from CPA. So, I mean, the sooner you can get in, the better, because you start, collecting money and getting money from the state. So, I don't know, if it ended up that your town meeting and the ballot didn't work out, you can do the petition thing, and it would be 500 signatures. So, I mean,
Some of us had wanted to do this when it first got established. that you-
Mary Lynn took the class in
Mary
it, yeah.
Lynn took the class, yeah, and we
I have always
we
tried.
really wanted to go forward with it. But, oh my God, the naysayers were out there, and we're like, wow. And we were doing schools, we were battling for schools, it was just,
do you have a new school or right or anything coming in the near future?
not, no.
Highway Department building?
But the highway department building is a really absolute necessity. It's not healthy.
They have trailers and
Yeah.
everything for the people
And
that
then
work there.
some of the equipment is out there in the bad weather all the time,
Yeah, and that's,
and that's a waste. So
yeah.
we're in the, yeah.
So I think to move forward, we would have to have a separate committee, right? No. Can we do this under the auspices of the Open Space Committee?
I don't know why not. I mean, we did it under the land use committee,
Okay.
yeah.
So that, to get it in, we'll do that, and then have
Well, then
when
you
we
need a-
vote it in,
Right, then you need a separate committee.
yeah.
And that's sometimes, yeah, I mean, if you have people that are interested, right here, then why form another committee, just,
Right.
I think before I had heard something, but it needs to be different, but
I don't know, I don't know why. I mean, unless things have changed, but I don't think so.
Well, that's in our open space plan too, that,
CPA, yeah.
CPA, yeah,
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, I think this, just to get it adopted is anybody. And then when you get in there,
Right.
you have the
Right,
different op.
because, I mean, you're just trying to get people to vote, you know what I mean?
Right.
That, and,
You have their site, you can go on and ask, right? Well, yeah, you, Metacomet Land Trust, yes. Which is great.
anybody can
No, I know.
look at it.
You've done a lot.
But Scott, do you think that, you're on the Historic Commission, do you think folks there would be interested in helping with this kind of thing?
We're here today.
Right? I mean, hopefully so, yeah, because we do have, we have 2 members that recently stepped down and 2 new members coming on.
That's great.
So, you know, it's kind of a good time, I guess, to, you know,
I've been to one meeting, so yes.
Right.
The focus at that one meeting.
I mean, right now, we're doing the, like, the downtown historic district.
Right.
We're finishing that up. It's been like a long time in the process, and we're also, you know, recently discussing the historic buildings and the fate of the historic buildings. You know, like, building and facilities is going over, because a lot of
Yep.
them, it's getting to the point where they either need to be repaired or they need to be demoed, because they're, you know.
Either
they're-
safety
they're-
hazard
yeah,
or.
Right, they're
or
sitting.
They're just
and-
not being used functionally.
Right, and I would love
Best benefit
to,
of the town.
I would love to see them not be demoed, so, you know, personally, I would love to see grants that would be able to save them, so.
Yeah.
At least, you know, especially the former VFW, the Douglas Center School, that one, and the Cottage Street Fire Station, and of course, the old grammar school, which I think, I've heard through several channels that they have a buyer interested in that one, so I'm not sure where that will go.
Yes and no.
But, yeah, right.
We've heard that so many times.
Right. I guess when we see the check, we'll know, right?
But I know we all have lots of meetings to go to,
Yeah.
so are you, and the commissioners, good with communicating electronically as much as possible, or?
Yeah, I mean, we do have, you know, communication between us, and I'm also on cemetery, so if it could benefit, you know, the historic cemeteries at all.
We
We're
received-
dying to get on that.
Oh, boy.
Got a big one in
We've
your
actually spent a lot of money on old cemetery restoration.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we talk about a lot on cemetery
Yeah.
commission, especially recently, because we have a lot of, you know, broken headstones.
Yep.
and
Yeah, you can definitely
Things that need
CPA.
repair, so.
And I heard one of your members, Lee Lyons, was doing a lot with cemetery stones and.
Yeah, he's trying to get, you know, some funding and some interest in finding someone to do repairs, so.
Oh, good.
Like getting quotes. So,
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Good. All right, I'm happy with the meeting. Anybody need more questions or
I
comments?
just think your info is terrific.
Yeah.
And wish you luck.
Thank you for
Wishes you luck.
Meeting.
Yeah, really.
So, Of the other committees that were invited,
Yes.
or commissions invited here tonight that aren't here, which ones would be like critical players in,
Well, housing,
so.
what other ones are we?
For recreation.
Recreation, which is,
definitely.
Do you have, it seems like pickleball's big here, is that true?
Oh, yes.
So do you have
Well, you know Dick
courts?
Skinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's here with pickup. We invited him tonight, but I guess he couldn't come.
So, like, do you have courts in town?
They're
over in the corner.
right over
Yeah.
there.
Do they want more? Because, you know.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking that those are people you could interest in, you
Right.
know?
Well, also the Adult Social Center / Senior Center, I think, you know,
Yeah.
those are critical, that's a critical audience too.
And, yeah, and actually meeting with them and explaining, you know,
Yeah,
the,
idea.
you know, if they want to keep the town, you know, the character of the town, this is really helpful to have this money.
Probably one of the areas that most committees aren't aware of is the number of things that could get money from this type of setup.
That's true.
Because they think it's just, oh, open space or whatever. And look, we got, one of the things I always heard, oh, look, we've got all this state forest. What do we need more for?
It's 5 miles away from a lot of people.
Yeah,
And it's like historic farms, you
Yeah.
can preserve,
yeah.
local, you know,
You have several of those.
yeah.
So maybe part of this would be after our election, we have another meeting like this and try to bring in a couple more of those committees, and then divvy up the work and move this forward. Does that sound?
That sounds good.
And then what's our email address? Does anybody have that off the top of their head?
Open space, is it dash? I don't know whether, it's openspace@douglasma.org.
Yeah,
Or
so
gov,
anybody
rather.
listening can contact us that way too, or just give a call and say that you want to join the next meeting, and we'll reach out and be in touch.
Do we want to schedule a meeting now?
We can?
Everyone has their
So
phone.
what's our goal? Obviously, it's not going to be this town meeting, not the May one.
If we use a petition, it could be. No,
It-
it could be the election, I'm sorry.
The ballot, yeah.
If we use petition, it could be the ballot in the fall. But that's
But
something we would talk about at the next meeting.
Okay.
I think that would be, we would need to say
What our timeline is.
the timeline, the mechanisms, and the percent.
Go online and read about the petition, because I didn't read about it carefully, but I'm pretty sure it was if you had enough signatures, then you could go to the ballot.
All right, well, we have an open space committee meeting on the 21st of May, but any,
Now, Scott and Sarah, can you meet in the evening or during the day?
I can, evening may actually be better for me unless it's a Thursday. I can do Thursdays pretty much anytime.
today's Thursday?
I'm pretty open as long as I have a couple weeks' notice, days or nights.
What do you prefer? Not Tuesday?
Right.
Tuesdays, but evenings, I can do any day evenings.
That's right, evenings, okay. You two have any preference? Because the open space has been meeting in the afternoon. So maybe to be able to catch more folks, we should try another,
An afternoon or an evening?
an evening.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we have enough on open space to keep that separate, but then maybe we should have,
Do an evening one?
yeah, do an evening one for the CPA.
I think so, yeah. So the elections are on the 14th,
Yeah,
the next Thursday is always a good one, right?
23rd?
Because it's less people in here.
the 23rd would be good for me.
Me too. It's World Turtle Day on my calendar. Dress like Ninja Turtles or something.
6:30. So actually, I have something that ends the day at 6:45. But,
No, we can go with the next week, if, whatever. But
You're into
the earlier the better.
You're into Memorial Day.
then you're into, yeah.
Yeah, you're starting getting June.
And you're getting to,
Yeah, and-
the next one would be the 30th, May 30th.
Mhm.
It's-
Just after Memorial Day.
Right, that's actually,
So when's
Thursday is the
Memorial Day?
beginning of Memorial Day weekend.
27th.
Oh, so,
Would you want to?
30th?
We could make it a little later if you, on the 23rd, if that would be,
Was that too much?
make it 7:30 or something instead.
Well,
Bring you a pizza?
yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know if 7:30 is good for everyone else.
The 30th is better?
The 30th might be better. I don't have anything at all to do on the 30th.
Anybody else?
possible.
Okay.
Want to do 7 o'clock
Okay.
on the 30th?
CPA meeting. Here we go. Another committee.
If you guys have time before that meeting, go on the Community Preservation Coalition website, to get ideas and stuff.
Yeah, we have an open space a meeting on, on the 21st. So actually, we could probably pull up a lot of stuff of what we want to bring. We can concentrate on that, just a little bit on that meeting, and then have it a week later.
And which, can you help me with that location?
Like, if you just Google Community Preservation Coalition,
Coalition.
it'll come up. Yeah. And you maybe put in MA or something like that, but it should.
And
yeah.
it's Gov or something.
Did we go with 7 o'clock?
Yep.
30?
If I may, suggestion, you might want to try to highlight some of the areas Ann has brought up and what can help, like
How it's
library.
appealing,
Just
yeah.
a blurb, and do you know that this could
Yeah,
perhaps
examples of,
help your committee that you're on to work towards things for the community? Just to tweak them,
Yeah.
get them, maybe I can get some money for the library through that, or
Yeah, no,
whatever.
definitely.
connection with someone,
Yeah.
yeah. Or a ball field or what, yeah.
And then you can write grant proposals because you have the money to do that, so it's,
Yeah.
Right.
That's a nice part. Yeah, you don't have to start from the beginning.
Just a thought.
No, it's good to connect people, just,
But they won't come, oh, I'm busy, or it won't help us unless they know that it is, something like this is available.
So maybe we can keep in touch through emails as we build towards the 30th, because that is a month away, so that's quite a bit of time.
Anybody can think about it and write down ideas. All right. Great. All right, we're all set. Anything, I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Anyone want a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.